All right, so let's talk about the NVIDIA 10-1 split. We haven't talked about that yet because it happened last week after Monday.
Last Wednesday, yeah.
So, okay, 10-1 split. Let's talk about what it means, future outlook for NVIDIA. How far can the stock run up? Get the whole spiel.
Yeah, so now it'll pretty much be like $100 a share and some change. Makes it a lot more attractive to the retail investors. We went through this with Apple before. We went through it with Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone wants to know, should I buy as soon as it splits? I'm always going to buy based off price. So it could slide back to maybe $89, $90, but anything sub 100 is good. 1 year return for NVIDIA, 120%. Excuse me. Yeah. Year to date, 120%. 1 year, 245%. Last 5 years, 28%. Last 10 years, 22,000% return. Hold for long term. Put this in chat. A lot of your problems go away if you hold for a 10-year period. I screamed this at InvestUs 1, 2, 3, and I will scream it again this year on stage and give away 10 grand. Most of your problems go away if you hold for a long period of time. One of the best companies I've ever seen, incredibly focused, high price point, but also on the deliverable side, they deliver amazing returns for the client base that they are serving, that they have. I want to say, and I don't want to be too early in this, but Jensen does feel Steve Jobs-esque. Like these chips feel like their iPhone. And at a time when that iPhone was revolutionary, he's doing the same thing in their space. Management team is incredibly competent and incredible. I've been along the stock. I've been beating the table about the stock for the last few years for sure. Shout out to everybody in Red Panda who got in. I appreciate you. And for everyone who asks who's the new NVIDIA, there's no new LeBron, no new Tom Brady, no new Kobe, no new Michael Jordan. Either choose to invest in the best that there is or find something else. Now, normally, because people would ask, what's the new IG or Facebook or Netflix? It's never going to be in the same sector. So I think the next revolution in 5 or 6 years could be quantum computing. But as far as the chip space, I think they have this unlock. BlackRock and Vanguard feel the same way. You can go look at how State Street feels about them as well. But one of the most amazing runs I've seen for a company ever. And shout out to all my gamers who was big on NVIDIA before the public caught wind of them.
Yeah. Shout out to everybody that reached out. I'm sure y'all got a bunch of text messages about it. I know I did.
Yes.
And trying to explain the splits is always fun because it's like, okay, this is what it means. And the best way I can put it is it's a psychological maneuver, right? Like, fundamentally, nothing really changes inside of the company, right? For every one share that you had, now you receive 10. So if you had 100, you have 1,000. If you had 200, now you got 2,000, right? So the price point, and we're looking at the price now. Obviously, the market was closed. It's at 1064. So when it trades, it'll be at $1. If it stopped today, if it traded, which it will on I think June 7th and starting June 10th, people will start receiving their shares. If it stopped today, it would be at $106 and maybe 50 cents. And that's how it would work, right? So each share, the money value will be the same. Even inside the options market, they're going to split it the same way. But what it does do, that's why I said it's a psychological thing, is that it does seem more appealing to retail investors rather than paying almost $1,100 for a share. It seems it's a lot more appealing to buy it at $110 a share, right? Absolutely. This is the company, especially if you're new to investing, you've been hearing everything about it. You've been seeing it everywhere for the past at least 2 years, but definitely over the past 12 months, you've heard about AI. Here's your opportunity. People will come into the space and say, all right, well, now it's my opportunity to grab some shares, which is great, especially if people who have been holding NVIDIA, like you said, maybe 5 years already. 2 years, or even if you've been holding it for a year, you've seen some extreme growth, and so it's encouraging right now. Now there's an opportunity for you to get into it. I know you said it'll pull back under sub 100 with the amount of news. I'll throw this question out to both of you guys. With the amount of news, the amount of media attention, everything we're seeing around it, where do you think it runs up to? Do you see it going to 110? 115, maybe 120 before it actually pulls back? Or
probably 110, and then my long target is for it to get back to 515 in 4 or 5 years. In 4 or 5 years. They're producing record profit, record revenue, And in a space where a lot of American companies are not producing something of true value and infrastructure, they pretty much have the keys to the kingdom for digital infrastructure for the next 10 years.
So
It's tough.
what? Okay. So, do you think NVIDIA will eventually become the number one company in the world?
I don't know if they will stay there, but I do think they have a chance.
I was gonna say 515. Yeah, I think that puts them there, right?
Yeah. But that's in a 5-year period. And of course, Microsoft, of course, they're a big player in AI through proxy, through owning a large percentage of OpenAI. But I do think they have it. My only fear is Saudi Aramco. If we hit recession, I think that business will be more valuable. Or let's say global economic pullback, because they won't let the R word fly now. So if we have a global economic pullback, but if they eventually get to like that $300 range, $400 range, I think they could be the number one company. I don't think they stay there long term. I think Microsoft ultimately becomes number one and stays there for a long period of time. But I think NVIDIA will at least touch number one in the market cap in the next couple of years, 2 to 3 years.
Should NVIDIA be added to the Dow?
Absolutely. Get 3M or IBM or one of the little old guards out of here. It's cheap enough. It's really infrastructure play. There's a real business there. I don't know why it would not be added. It was not like the case of Tesla where the business was murky in some areas. This is the one of the few companies that is clicking on all cylinders, and almost, if you make a SWOT analysis, they almost have no weaknesses. Almost don't have any. So yeah, I think they should be added to the Dow for sure.
So for people that are not invested in NVIDIA, what do you suggest? Should they invest now? Should they wait to the split? Should they wait till it pulls back under $100 after it splits?
Yeah, after it splits and sub 100. So maybe $95. If it gets to 89, I'll be elated. For everyone in options, Troy, this is your specialty. Rashad, your specialty. 2 year. Don't do 0-day expiration. Don't do any 1 years. Hold for 2 years. You'll be good. But yeah, wait till after the split. Sub 100, definitely. 89 would be a great price, but 92, 94, I'm not mad at if you're holding for the long term.
Yeah. I'll go with the first thing, which is, does it become the number one company in the world? Yeah. I think it does happen. Like I said, it's shortly will at this pace in the next couple of quarters it will pass Apple in market cap.
Yep.
And then Microsoft is up next. I think, again, long term, I think Microsoft will be the number one company. It is now as far as market cap, but yeah, it passes it. If you looked and you listened to the earnings report this week, yes, it blew out its earnings again. The data centers are just, running rampant. But the Blackwell GPU has not been a part of that revenue structure yet, which is going to be released later this year. And Ian, it's something that you've talked about plenty of times, but for people who are not familiar with it, it is their new GPU. And here's what it focuses on. It focuses on energy efficiency. So when we're talking about how efficient can it do it, how much power does it take? Well, the Blackwell GPU is designed specifically for that. And it's going to improve advanced simulations, AI, quantum computing, data analysis, and it's going to reduce energy costs. And so you're talking about getting a higher quality product that's going to cost you less to use. You take that into account. The price point, again, is between $30,000 to $35,000 per GPU. We've already heard huge companies, whether it's Microsoft, whether it's NVIDIA, whether it's Meta, not NVIDIA, whether it's Meta, talking about their commitment to having those GPUs. Yeah. When you're talking about these mega cap companies and their reliance on it going forward, especially in the AI race, I think we're talking about a few more quarters, at least the next 18 months, where they're going to continue to dominate. And if they have, I don't know. I haven't seen this, Ian. You can tell me I haven't seen a company report this many quarters where it's absolutely destroying all of its estimates, and we don't see a slowdown. So yeah, I think it becomes the number one company. And should it be added to the Dow? So last week we told you about how the Dow is rated. So just really quickly, the Dow's made up of 30 stocks and it's price weighted average, right? So NVIDIA couldn't come in, and we spoke about that because of its price. So the higher price stocks, because of the index moves higher based on the lower price one, if the percentage moves, it remains the same. So each dollar is not weighted equally, right? So United Health, which is like over $500, and let's take NVIDIA, if it comes in at 100, that $1 that stock moves versus the $1 that NVIDIA moves would not be the same. So percentages are taken into it. So it coming down to that level, I think it's not even a matter of if, I believe it's a matter of when it gets added to the Dow. And I think that will happen within the next 12 months. I see it joining it.
Yeah, I mean, NVIDIA alone is worth more than the entire German stock market. And going back to the picks and shovels, like imagine in the 1700s, you have people that are selling the pick shovels and buckets, and then here comes a company with a bulldozer that allows you to extract 2 tons of gold out of one mountain. That's what NVIDIA is selling.
Or here comes a company that says if you're going inside to dig for gold, you're going to need clothing. And that clothing needs to be tough, and it needs to be rigid, and it needs to be sustainable in all temperatures. And then you call that company Levi. And now Levi Strauss becomes
all those lifetimes ahead. Like,
right.
But it's the power of staying focused. Like, a lot of people didn't see this coming. I think because of the geopolitical stuff, I'm gonna be very clear. TSM should have the spot, but because of the potential conflict there, that allowed them to get into pole position and become number one. And he's done a great job at every quarter. Like they're smashing these numbers out of the park. Yeah. It would be the equivalent of a player coming in and like averaging 45 points and 20 rebounds a game.
Yeah. What they're doing is ridiculous. I'm glad you brought up the TSM piece. I spoke about it last week. I said that was my option trade of the month. It still is. But I'm starting to hear it now. Like maybe TSM is just underpriced. Right, especially for its importance and its dominance. We're not talking, and we talked about from a geopolitical standpoint. If anything is to happen to that company, what that means, not just for them, but what it means for the entire, pretty much U.S. economy. NVIDIA, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Meta. If something is to happen with that company, you're talking about a major, major issue globally. Right now, TSM holds more than 90% of the market share for leading edge semiconductor manufacturing. 90%.
Yep.
That's ridiculous. And so
whoever got
at these numbers, there might be a case point that it might be underpriced here. I know there was a little bit of consolidation. It pulled back to 90 or maybe mid to early last year. Right now it's trading over 150. So 163, I can see it getting to 170 is not out the realm of belief, but it might be undervalued at this point, especially for what it means to the economy.
Absolutely.